going to head out to go down to Ernst Sound and do another herring survey. This is going to be the last flight for herring surveys for Ernst Sound of this year, 2023. And this flight's going to be pretty much a repeat of what we've done the last 3 flights. Weather's a little bit different. I've got 2 cameras set up today. I've got one of them fixed so that I can turn it on partway through the flight. So I've got a 2.5-hour flight again. I managed to get just shy of 2 hours of recording of the flight this time. So I'll speed it up to 4 times the speed of the airplane, and we'll just let the whole thing play. It'll be a little bit better scenery and stuff this time, not quite so jerky, and you'll be able to see the scenery a little better at 4 times than we could at 16 or 32 times. Well, anyway, just like we've done before with taxiing out here, I've been warming the engine up and getting down here now to where I get the engine warmed up enough for a takeoff, and I'll clear the area, turn around back to the northeast, and take off past town, circle back around, and fly down the Wrangell Narrows again. We've been going through Blind Slough, a pass here that almost bisects the Midcoff Island, and you've been able to see the water as we've flown up it. We're coming up just now to the point where the water flows different directions. Behind us it flows to the north out into Wrangell Narrows, and here it flows down into Blind Slough and out into Sumner Straits. Now we're just coming out of Blind Slough on the south end of Mitkoff Island. Straight over the nose is Sokolov Island. To the left is Renda Island. A little island between Renda Island and Sokolov is Gray's Island. And there's a kind of a peak past Gray's Island. That's High Island, properly known as Caden Island. On the right side is Vank Island. Far right is Rimbo Island. And then straight over Vank Island, on the far side of that, pretty much straight ahead, is Warnofsky Island. Stikine Straits takes off to the right there, goes between Zarimbo Island and Warnofsky Island, and the far distance is Edelin Island. And so the Stikine Straits heads between those out into Clarence Straits. Like I said, straight over the nose is 5 Mile Island, and in the distance there is Wrangell Island. And right over the nose, right on the beam, is Zimovia Straits. We're going to head down Zimovia Straits along the edge of Warnofsky Island until we get down to the southern part of the city of Wrangell. Going to bypass the airport traffic area in the main town of Wrangell and kind of head towards Pat's Creek, just on south end of Wrangell, and head down Wrangell Island. In Zimovia Straits now, Point Nemo is just coming up underneath the wing. Edelin Island is off on the right. That's Anita Bay, just to the right of the nose. It goes up in there, and we're going to turn kind of to the left a little bit and keep going down Zimovia Straits, and we're right over Wrangel Island. Coming down on the south end of Zimovia Straits now, south end of Wrangel Island. Coming up underneath the nose is Tom's Place. And we're coming out of Zimovia Straits in the south end of Wrangel Island now. To the right, you can look down into Ernst Sound. And this is Ernst Sound we're coming into, kind of the upper end of it. Goes right up there far in the far left is Point Ward. And Deer Island here is just on the right. And we're headed to Cleveland Peninsula, where we saw the spawn the other day. And like I said, we're just going to do the same flight as we've done before. We're going to head over here where we saw the spawn on Cleveland Peninsula and follow it down through Seward Passage. Seward Passage goes between the Cleveland Peninsula and Deer Island. Flying along here right over the shoreline so we can see down in the water, looking for any fish or any milt or anything like that. I'm about 1,500 feet, and at this altitude we could see any spawn from quite a distance. It's a real white, milky looking area. We also can see any concentration of bird activity or anything like that. So we're surveying along here for fish. We're heading down Seward Passage now, right over Cleveland Peninsula. Cleveland Peninsula is part of the North American continent. It's actually attached to the mainland. Everything else around here is islands. Just to the right of us is Deer Island, and almost everything else we've flown over is an island that's not attached to the North American continent. I just switched cameras now. We're out of Seward Passage into Ernst Sound, just going over Point Eaton. Again, we'll keep following the shoreline around here and look for any sign of any herring spawn. Just to the head on the right is Sunrise Island. We're going to swing around the bluffs here into Emerald Bay. The point over there on the right side of the screen in the near distance is Point Vixen. At Vixen Inlet, it goes in from there. So we're going to fly up and all around that area. Now, coming up on Vixen Point, right here just ahead of us, we're going to come around the point, go up into Vixen Bay, and fly around it. That island there ahead of us in the middle of Vixen Bay usually has a lot of birds on it. There's a reef just right dead center there. There was a sign of spawn there the other day with a lot of bird activity and stuff. We didn't see any spawn, but the birds, all the activity had moved here, this area here just down below us. It was thick with seagulls and surf scooters and stuff like that. A pretty good indication that there'd been spawn there that we'd missed. So I'm going to go map that out, and then we're going to go up onto the Vixen Bay here just a little bit farther. I thought I saw some more bird activity up here, but it was just a wind or something on the water. It didn't turn out to be anything. So turn around here and head back out Vixen Bay and head towards Union Bay. Coming up on Vixen Creek, comes right here just in front of the float, and there's a little bay right there just ahead of us. It's called Vixen Anchorage. And that point that sticks out there is Union Point. And just on the other side of Union Point, there's another little inlet that sticks in right there, and that is kind of a neat little spot. There's 3 or 4 private houses there. It's kind of a neat spot, way away from anything else. It's really hard to get to. There was a house there for sale a few years ago for a really nice price, but again, it's out in the middle of nowhere. We're continuing on along the shoreline here in through Union Bay, and up ahead of us is the estuary and the outlet for Black Bear Creek. Black Bear Creek is one of the major pink salmon spawning areas. We fly this area quite a bit looking for fish in the summertime. This is one of the later systems here, but it's also one of the prime systems that gets a lot of fish. So we'll swing across the mouth of the estuary here and continue around the bay, looking out into Clarence Straits there over the Lemisher Point and Prince of Wales Island in the distance. You say we're coming out on Point Lemisher now. Just up here underneath the float, you'll see the little inlet there. That's the little village of Myers Chuck. And we're looking north up Clarence Straits right now. Clarence Straits runs north there through Snow Pass and into Sumner Straits. Prince of Wales Island again on the left. The point in the far distance up there that you can see on Prince of Wales Island is Luck Point, and just around Luck Point is Kaufman Cove. This is the entrance into Ernst Sound here, and that's the south end of Edelin Island over there, just kind of straight ahead on the right side of straight ahead. Now we're coming up on Onslow Islands right now. They're on the extreme southwest tip of Edelin Island. And then Edelin Island is just pretty much straight ahead of us. So we're going to fly over these looking for any milt or any sign of fish here, and then fly along the shoreline on the south shore of Edelin Island here, and then back around into Ernst Sound again and back head towards home. We're still in Ernst Sound, going by the south end of Edelin Island. Just coming up here on the left is a really neat little passage called Canoe Passage. Right underneath the spinner now is Bronson Island, and we just still abeam Edelin Island, but Canoe Pass separates Bronson Island from Edelin Island. In places there, it's only about 100 feet wide, and it's kind of shallow there, so a lot of the bigger boats and stuff can't get through it, but it's really a neat spot. Again, we're still in Ernst Sound, and they're just to the right of center in the short distance is Sunrise Island. We just went by that a little while ago when we went by Emerald. Emerald Bay is right there in that corner too. Sunrise Island just disappeared. And over the center there, just going to the right, is Point Eaton. That's where we went by when we changed over to this camera. Seward Passage is straight ahead of that. Deer Island is straight ahead of us. And like I said, we're still in Ernst Sound, and we're going around Bronson Island. And we're just about to the upper end of Bronson Island. And just on the left there is called Fisherman's Chuck. That's where Canoe Passage comes out. And we'll cross over this little spit, which is part of Edelin Island, and we head up into Menifee Inlet. Looking up into Zimovia Straits again, Edelin Island here underneath us, and to the left, Wrangell Island to the right. And we cross over this little hill right here. There's a bay called Olive Cove, and that's another little community, little private land sale and stuff, and people that like to live out away from town live there. Looking north up Zimovia Straits, pretty much the way we came down, is Point Nemo there just to the right, Wrangell up in the distance on the right. We're going to cross over Anita Bay. I'm going to go up this little pass here, up Dog Salmon Creek, and down out Prince George Creek. Through this pass, there's a lake there called Kunk Lake, K-U-N-K. It's a sockeye spawning stream lake. I'm going to go through this pass and into Chichikaw Straits, and then Stikine Straits, and then Sumner Straits, and then back to Petersburg. But the video ends here just as we go across this pass, so this is